This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Spouses Talking Houses with husband and wife real estate team Jennifer and Brian Frost. Everything you want to know about buying, selling, investing, and owning property. So let's get real about real estate.
Well, welcome back to Spouses Talking Houses. I'm Jennifer, and my guest today is Andrea Kenny, also with Keller Williams Metropolitan.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, my friend and colleague. And Brian is not with us today, so we will have to carry the torch. Yeah, will you bicker with me then?
Oh, I have noticed it on some of your things.
And that's us on our best behavior.
I know. I'm thinking, oh, she's really going to say that to him, isn't she?
Yes, that's pretty much every day.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. So today we're going to get real about new construction, and this time we're going to do a little bit more of a focus on building a custom home or a semi-custom home. And Andrea has a lot of experience in that realm, and so I'm very excited about that.
Thank you.
But before we get to our topic, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the realtor lifestyle. What have you been up to lately?
You know, there's something about as a realtor, you set your own pace. Mm-hmm. You know, you can work daytime, you can work nighttime, and with technology today, we have made our jobs a lot easier, you know. And during COVID, we do the Zoom thing. I am Zooming education left and right and meetings left and right that I couldn't always get to before, and saving time to travel on either side of something. So we're becoming more productive, which gives me a little bit more free time. I have 7 grandchildren. And
7, okay.
Yeah. And very blessed. We've been fortunate during COVID to be able to get together, go to the lake, do some boating. We have the star of the show is our newest 8-month-old baby, and everybody just dotes over her. So, yeah, it's almost been normal since summer started.
Yes,
but from March until we actually could come out a little bit, it was tough. It was tough.
It was.
But it was time to regroup on your business, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm looking forward to that happening in the next month or so, because we'll be back indoors. So
I know. I'm dreading the indoors as well, because the summer has been great. I could get out.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I'll put my mask on when I'm with people or I run into a store, but we could go out to eat and sit outside. We haven't done much of that, but when we have, it's been great. Tennis is a great COVID sport.
You're lucky to do that.
And so I'm dreading the winter because, you know, I probably will still play, which will mean indoors. And I'll have to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
And this weekend, I actually did not have any appointments on Sunday. 0 appointments.
Not possible yet.
Which I just was so happy about.
Yeah.
And I just kind of fizzled the whole day away. I had all these projects that I could do or should do, and I didn't do any of them. And I just kind of kept an eye on my fantasy football team. And,
there you go. Sometimes you just need that mental cleanse.
Exactly.
You just get out of it for a little bit.
So that was really great.
We handle a lot of different details for people.
We do.
And when you're working for multiple clients or customers, you know, you have their, as a realtor who is giving them their loyalty and your care, you are really thinking of them all the time if something happens, you know. And you got to be watchful for that house to come on the market that, you know, that they're looking for, and somebody's going to have multiple contracts going in on a property.
I'm always tracking dates. Yeah, actually, I think we did write a contract on Sunday, but you know, there's no such thing as a day of 0 work.
No.
So anyway, one of the things, speaking of details, is when we are working with new construction, sometimes, you know, we have a buyer or we have a lot that they're not able to just drive into a new development and say, oh, I want the Ashley and I want it on lot 36.
Right.
Sometimes we've got to go something a little bit more custom or even semi-custom. And to my mind, a custom home means that that house is being built specifically for that person, and that house plan was drawn specifically for that person. And semi-custom, I just think of is they picked a stock plan and made some alterations.
Yeah, but they're also doing that on the advice of people who know what the trends are and what what the market's asking for. You know, 20 years ago, we built a lot of what we called box colonials, and you know, New Hampshire is a very transient state. You know, we're like we're pretty far up there in economies of class, because it is a very profitable state, and people were coming in with new businesses and lots of medical improvements in the area.
Yes, yep.
And they brought their ideas from many other parts of the country.
That's true, yeah.
So suddenly we had, the big lavish bathrooms and the giant kitchens, and, you know, houses started to change. And now they're changing again, because as those people are reeling out of them, they're looking to downsize.
Right.
They don't want to pay property taxes. They don't want to have a bigger house to clean. The kids are grown and gone. But downsizing isn't always the best thing, because people are having their children come back. Like the 7 of grandchildren,
exactly,
and the family that came home on the weekend for the football game.
And you had to find them all somewhere to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is people who downsize don't want to downgrade.
Correct.
So they don't want to go to their first house.
No.
And they may still want a very large kitchen for entertaining, and they may still want an office space and a more formal living room or library versus the family room and then the sunroom. But maybe they don't need, you know, a whole 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
So the nice thing about a custom home is that you can choose what your priorities are,
right,
and how you want to lay that out.
Absolutely.
And I also think if you have a lot that has views or has something specific, then the house can really be designed to enhance what's special about that lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a good builder will position a house to take advantage of the best aspects of the lot. Give it a walkout basement if it's possible, just because that's like free space.
Yeah.
It may not be something that you want to do, but it could be something that the next buyer is going to want.
Right.
And that's just good for resale.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, you know, if you are looking to build and you want to build your quote unquote dream house and not just buy something that's kind of pre-planned, should you select the house plan first, or should you find your lot first?
Well, location is what I think about.
So the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Pick the lot. You know, have in mind what you're going to build on it, because, and you have to know that it's going to fit into the neighborhood. You know, if you have a neighborhood of homes that are of some particular design, you don't want to be the most expensive on the block, and you don't want to be the least expensive on the block. You want to fit into the neighborhood and have a good idea for it. But I think you have to pick the location, and that transcends also to where you're commuting to, or if you work at home,
right?
Where your children are going to go to school. Schools are so important, and New Hampshire has such wonderful, wonderful schools.
Absolutely.
From Hanover to Wyndham, you know, it's you can't say anything better about them.
When we are seeing people who, you know, the suburbs have always been popular, and then there was a little bit of a trend towards the city having it be walkable, having everything be right there. And now with COVID, the trend is coming back even more so to the suburbs, and people who traditionally would not have worked from home are finding themselves working from home. I have clients who are in the medical profession, and they're doing telemedicine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, whereas they never would have thought that they could do something from home.
Exactly.
And so we're seeing people who are now saying, all right, I can get more land. I can build what I want. I can make myself almost a little bit of a compound.
Right.
Because I'm going to spend more time at home, and I'm going to do more variety of activities at home.
Exactly.
You know,
I think the thing right now people are looking for is home offices, and exercise space.
Of course, yeah.
Gyms are just a place to be able to do that because of COVID. And they learned that they can accomplish so much more in a day if they're within home, their home.
And if their kids are home and doing schooling online, maybe they want an activity space where the kids can go and work on some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out of their bedroom for a moment and not have it be right in the middle of the kitchen necessarily.
Just as a parent or a grandparent of kids that are in school, I don't have children in school, but I have grandchildren. That's really important because they need to feel that they are really, studying, that they're doing something. If you leave them in their rooms to just study, laying on the bed, I'm not sure it's going to get them where they need to be.
Right. Yeah. I like to see my daughter who's going to college online right now, at least this semester. I like to see her leave her room every now and then.
Yeah. And I think, they got to sit in an upright chair and they got to pay attention and they got to take their notes and do whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many hybrid different schools going on. In Bedford, the kids are going to school 1 hour a day. My grandchildren in Boston are going every other day on 1 week and every 2 days the next week. So it's different everywhere.
Scheduling is so different. Yeah. And some of the trends that we saw, I'm thinking in the 80s and the 90s, we saw au pair suites and that type of thing. Now I see more multi-generational.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I see a lot more multi-generational and not necessarily, nobody wants to be in the apartment in the basement.
Exactly. If you can get a room on the first floor and the half bath might have to have a shower, step-in shower or something, you're just kind of planning for that. It's very hard to turn out your parents or try to accommodate them on a staircase and that they have to climb.
Right. Or convert your dining room to a bedroom.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't pick up on that, but that's a great thought.
And so, a lot of people are saying they want one level living, which is a ranch, which is great. Ranches cost more to build.
Yeah.
How many times do we have this conversation? Right?
I know. They take up so much more area.
They do.
So if you can build a smaller footprint, and at least put one room upstairs over the garage. Right. That's become very popular. I've sold a lot of those. And they can be like 2,200, 2,400 square feet, which gives you that big open concept that everybody's looking for.
Right.
And you can, with furnishings, divide spaces and whatever. But I think that getting those ideas into it, the place to homeschool, the place to office. Right. Place for Graham.
And if you want a first floor master, or if you want more living space and less bedroom space, I would think about a cape, because then your first floor has more space on it than your second floor. If you want everybody to have their own bedroom and then you also want a playroom or a bonus room or something on the second floor, well, then you want to think about a house where your second floor is larger because you're building over the garage.
Yeah.
So there are different ways that different floor plans can work for you. And the things that are going to add character and cost are going to be the things like your roof lines.
Absolutely.
Your elevations, if you've got changes of elevation, and then of course your finishes.
Exactly.
Your finishes that you choose. So should somebody go with look online for a stock plan, or should they hire an architect?
Well, I think you have to start somewhere. You can either sketch it out on the back of a napkin or find one online, which is of course better. But then the architect is going to have to make sure that it's engineered and properly ready for the Northeast climate. And, tell you what changes how they're going to affect the plan. Right. Because you can't just decide to put a window here or, take a window out there, because it changes the whole integrity of the plan. Yeah.
And like, you might be looking at a plan, as you mentioned, that's for a different part of the country. And so not only do we have different snow load and we use basements, which means our we've got that extra staircase, but the HVAC might be done differently here.
Exactly.
So you might end up having an air handler, one in the basement and one in the attic, and then they need need different areas and chases to be able to put that HVAC work.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think if you can start with a stock plan and then have an architect or a draftsman make some changes.
Yes, definitely have them look it over.
Yeah. If you are doing something that is waterfront, you might want to go straight up full architect to take advantage of the views, the winds, the site, etc. But in general, I think I'd say adapt an existing plan. Yeah. So how do you go about finding a builder?
Well, a realtor is going to guide you. There are plenty of places to check. You can go to any of the builder organizations.
Yep.
The New Hampshire Home Builders.
The association, yep.
Yep, the association. I think that's an important step. The experience that maybe a realtor has had with a builder. His online presence and how he will explain things to you.
Some of them really don't put effort into their online presence, though.
Yeah. The good ones do. The good ones do. Yeah. But the other thing is the builders have gone through the good times and the bad times, and the ones that have survived and that are out there and doing things are fair and honest and sincerely are trying to do a good job. They are not there to gouge people, but costs have gone crazy.
Crazy.
A builder doesn't necessarily make the kind of profit that everybody thinks they make.
They do not.
No. There's been such an increase in cost in materials and labor that it's expensive.
Even just permits and bringing your utilities to the site. Even just bringing your electrical and your cable and your phone to the site.
Not only that, even before they can put a shovel in the ground, they got to deal with the town. Impact fees, current use penalties.
Exactly,
building permit fees, it's in the thousands.
And a lot of times the town is requiring them to do some extra site work along the road.
Yep. They want their aprons a certain way for the driveway.
Yep.
Some towns are requiring sprinkler systems inside the house.
Yeah, that adds like $10,000 right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just really any number of different things you can find in any different community.
So
the building department's a good resource, too.
Yes, because they'll know who's active in town.
Exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes having a builder who builds in that town and is familiar with what that building inspector is looking for can help smooth the process, because then they're not getting surprises along the way.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes also there will be a builder who's tied into a specific lot.
Because he owns it.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you have to build with him.
Right.
That is possible that he'd sell the lot if he wanted to.
Right.
But builders that have claim on lots right now are not letting go.
No.
We are out of land.
Yeah.
Every community is looking for what they can do to I don't want to say control, but they do have to control certain things because of the infrastructure, the schools.
Yep. Their fire and safety.
Oh, yeah. All of that's a critical thing for a town when they approve land.
Yeah. And then, when you're working out the costs with the builder, I think this is the biggest struggle that we have, is that the buyer says, well, how much is this going to cost? And they think that the number's going to just come off to the top of the builder's head or our head. And it's actually quite complex to put a price on a house.
Yep. They can't just go by square footage.
No.
I get that question all the time. Well, what's the average square footage? So I can take a particular price range and give you an average,
Right.
But it really depends on what you want in the house.
Right.
I can tell you that there's anywhere from $250 to $275 a square foot right now. But that doesn't necessarily correlate to every particular town or what you want in it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the average price for a house in New Hampshire under the statistics is about $300,000 or $319,000. But go try and build one for that.
No, you can't. You can't.
No. You're almost that's only maybe 80% of the cost of the land.
Right. Right.
And then after that happens, you've got, after all those permits and fees that you have to pay, you have to excavate. Mm-hmm. If you're lucky enough to get on city water, it's just a connection.
Right.
And then you don't have to have a whole lot of testing either.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to build a well and a septic, your excavation costs are getting up there.
Right. And you don't know until you go to drill the well how far down you need to go.
Right.
And you can have two houses side by side and the two wells cost completely different
Exactly.
amount.
And they can actually be different in terms of components.
Right.
It really depends on what aquifer they tap into. I lived in a house that had to have everything known to mankind, and my next door neighbor didn't have a single thing on hers, and her well was fine.
Really? Yeah.
So it's catch as catch can, and nobody has a crystal ball.
Nobody has a crystal ball. And I find even with builders who are building, the same house in the same neighborhood that they just completed recently, and they still need to call their subs and find out, is the cost of the air conditioning unit gone up?
Oh yeah.
So the actual materials,
oh, absolutely.
the pricing of materials right now has been very volatile.
Yeah. And the cause of that, I think a lot of people need to know that the cause of it is the scarcity of some of the material. We've had a lot of fires, hurricanes, a lot of things that no one could control.
Yeah.
I got to believe that, gas, oil, all the shipping and things.
Shipping and things, warehouses,
And the scarcity. And sometimes manufacturers have to shut down because of lack of employees, and we have COVID to deal with. So when that happens, prices just skyrocket. One builder told me that the frame that he has on the same house this year is $20,000 more money.
Yeah. And I've talked to some general contractors, and they said you can't even get materials at Home Depot to buy decks right now.
Right.
Because guess what everybody did this summer with their COVID-free time?
Right.
They replaced their decks.
Yeah.
Ben did too. Okay.
That's exactly what I did with my summer.
Yeah. So
well, you know what? There's a lot of home improvement that people are doing on their own. Moms were baking bread and dads were outside, doing things.
Doing
there.
the decks, exactly.
Because that's making their homes more their own, because they know they got to be in them. We're not going anywhere.
And it's a catch-22 because the buyer needs to have some sort of a budget. And the builder has to have an idea of your floor plan and your lot and be able to evaluate that site to come up with maybe a ballpark figure.
Sure.
And then the two of them from there try to match up and get more detailed and more specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Labor costs are always changing. And you know what? A builder that quoted a house, 6 months ago.
Oh, can't use that
Can't
number.
do it now.
Can't use that number. No.
Can't do it now.
No. And so that's tough.
Yeah.
For a buyer.
Cuts right into his profit too.
Yeah. Both the buyer and the seller are a little uncertain at the moment, right?
He's contracted to build at the price he gave them.
Right.
And he has to do the best he can to, come in and pay his bills. He's got to pay those people too.
Right.
Those kinds of things don't go away.
Right. Are you seeing any builders build some sort of a clause in there?
I've not seen that yet.
Not seen that yet.
Not seen that yet.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't come around.
They do there's a variable on a well.
On a well, yes.
Or
typically.
they provide allowances.
Yeah.
So they say, okay, we're going to give you $2,500 for lights. If you go over that allowance, that's your cost.
Right.
On wells, they give you so much for the drilling, so much for the casing.
Yeah.
And if it goes deeper.
Right. Then it's a price by linear foot usually.
Not everybody likes that or understands it, but
it sort of is what it is. Yeah.
You're buying something that, you have to pay for.
Yeah. And we don't know how deep it's got to go yet.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Generally in a neighborhood, once they've started, they have a fair idea.
Yeah. And then, then that brings you to the point of, are you going to have the builder purchase the land, carry all of the construction financing themselves, and then you just buy it from them at the end as a package, which means they have to add in the cost of money
and
the risk. And you've got to figure for them to borrow that money is not going to be as cheap for you, because
Right.
if you borrow that money, that's for your single family primary residence,
Right.
which is the cheapest interest rates that you can get,
Correct.
versus a builder getting like a line of credit for a
Right.
business loan, which is not going to be as favorable.
Yeah. And, some of the builders can work with a particular bank and they will fund them.
Right.
The rates are not cheap. A lot of builders, if they don't have the wherewithal to finance it themselves, they are paying interest costs to private lenders, private
Right.
people.
Hard money,
Which
is very expensive. Yeah.
And that means you've got to really put your nose to the grindstone and get this house done.
Yeah. So for a buyer, I think you actually can get a better value if you don't have to indirectly pay those costs by doing a construction to permanent loan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that works out so beautifully for everybody. There's not only just because the buyer is only paying for the amount of money that they're using at draw stages. So a certain amount of the house gets done and they get a draw. But that's inspected by the town and the lender.
Yeah. So they'll come out at septic,
Absolutely.
they'll come out at foundation, they'll come
Yeah.
out at framing,
Yep.
they'll come out at rough electrical,
Right.
insulation, right?
And they're only paying the cost as they go along. The thing about it,
And
the
they pay
beauty-
interest only, which is good.
interest only, and the first thing that happens is they take out the lot. So the owner owns the lot,
Right.
and when everything is finished, the contract from the builder is like buying a refrigerator. It's a sales receipt kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's very specific.
Yes.
And then they just move in.
Yeah, so the deed has already changed hands because the buyer owns
Right.
the lot at that point. That becomes part of your equity and your down payment
Exactly.
on the loan.
Yeah.
And if there are any sort of your transfer taxes and your current use taxes and those sort of things get calculated on that transfer of the
Correct.
lot and not the whole house. So that's
Correct.
only a portion of the whole package.
Exactly.
So you can save money there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So so a lot of times when we see somebody do a custom or semi-custom, we're seeing them purchase the lot and then do a construction loan. And a lot of times we call them construction to permanent because as soon as the property is done, it just rolls directly over into your 30-year fixed loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's a great way to do it.
And there's so many people out there that are doing them now. Banks and mortgage lenders.
Yes.
Yeah. And we know who the ones are that are doing them. And that's a really good thing for a realtor to come guide somebody with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about the buyer who says, I think I'm going to buy some land and I'm going to be the general contractor and build a house myself?
Well, it's done a lot, actually.
It is?
But it's a slow process.
Because
You have to remember that the builders are working with their subcontractors all along, and that's feeding their families, the subcontractors, and they're going to know they got another place to go.
yeah, there's a
The
relationship
individual who wants to do it, he wants to cut some corners and is looking to find somebody to show up. And it could work, but for the most part, they are not conversant with all of the different and the lining up of the subcontractors that they need to do.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you know what you don't know?
Yeah, exactly. How do you know? But, there's a lot of YouTube videos, I guess. You need an excavator. You need the foundation people. You need somebody to come back and backfill it. You need the framers to come in, and then you need the rough wiring. And you can't do any of that until you have it weather tight.
Yeah, I've been in the business for over 30 years, and I wouldn't think of being my own. I wouldn't think of being my own general contractor because A, it's complex. B, if you have one sub is blaming something on another sub and they're pointing fingers at each other, do you have the experience to be able to mediate that? Whereas, as you said, the general contractor not only has the experience, but they have the relationships with the people. I'm
when I walk through a house with a builder,
yeah.
I don't see all the same things that he sees. If the top of the door casing doesn't line up with what the window frame is. Things are supposed to be symmetrical, and
Right.
there's lots of things that you can kind of miss.
Yeah.
Without the right eye.
Exactly. So the other thing I think that comes up is, why does it take so long? How long does it take?
Mm-hmm.
For me, for a custom right now, I'm saying 9 months.
Me too. 6 to 9.
Yeah.
Because of the delivery of things, at the start of a particular build that I'm working on now, they told me, don't worry, you can get the cabinets in 2 weeks. Now it's 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now on another one, the siding's not available for 4 weeks. So there are delays that come along that nobody can anticipate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and what happens during that time, and in what order does it go? Because I think a lot of times when I walk through a house under construction with a buyer, they're like, oh, this hasn't been done yet. He's got to come back. But the guys actually come in a specific order.
They do.
And then they come back in a specific order.
Yeah.
So something that you might notice needs to be done when the walls are all open is something that's actually scheduled to happen after the insulation and the drywall has come in.
Correct. Yeah. There definitely is a specific pattern. And again, I go back to that gazillion things that go into the house. Absolutely, yeah. And, you can ask in a way and you can check, and some people are authorities on different things, but I guess you got to give the builder a chance to take it into the order that it has to be.
Right. Right.
The electrician has to come before the plumber, and that's just the rough. And then once further along and the drywall is up and the trim work is starting, then they come back and do their finish.
Right. Right. And the hardwood has to go in before the trim, but carpet goes in after the trim.
You hope so, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. So there's a certain sequence to things.
Absolutely.
And we start off with the site work and the foundation.
Yeah.
And then we go to the framing.
Yep.
And then usually we go to the rough electrical, rough plumbing, then insulation and drywall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paint.
Yeah. Well, your siding's gone up at that point, and you're weather tight.
Has to be weather tight before they start the electrical and
exactly,
stuff.
Yeah.
So the windows are gone in, the doors are on,
the roof is on.
Yeah.
The siding is on.
Yeah.
Your septic is usually not.
They sometimes do start them fairly early on. The well is maybe one of the even first things that they do.
Right.
Because they're going to need water to work.
And usually if they do the site work before the ground freezes, they can keep going on the rest of it.
As soon as it's watertight, they're inside.
Yeah.
They love to be watertight or weather tight.
Yeah.
By December.
Yeah.
So it's hard on them to build outside. I've seen it in the dead of January. They're on a roof or,
I know.
Even the heat's not on in those houses in the winter. These guys are cold-blooded, I think.
Yeah. There's no heat and electrical till the very end.
Exactly.
Because your power is not hooked up.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they've got generators going.
All the time.
Yeah. But your kitchen, usually by the time your kitchen is in, we're on the home stretch.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's when I'm starting to say, all right, well, we really know we're going to be closing on this date.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've heard in the past, and I don't know what it is today though, from the point of framing 10 weeks, once they start the foundation and start the framing 10 weeks out. But you can't hold that rule today. Right.
And if you have a delay either in materials or in a subcontractor
or weather.
Yeah. And
12 feet of snow on a weekend or something.
And weather's going to affect your driveway. It's going to affect your landscaping.
Yeah.
In some towns, is this all through New Hampshire where they have to do the blower door test?
That I'm not sure about, but I think it is.
You think it's statewide?
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's part of the
it's the
building code, the BOCA code.
Okay. So the blower air door test is they're checking to see how energy efficient the house is.
Right.
Okay. And so they're literally putting the house under pressure.
Yeah.
To check and see how much air will leak out. So there's a lot of different things that that need to be scheduled
Absolutely.
before you get your certificate of occupancy and before you're pulling in and moving in. Yeah.
Most definitely.
But I think my next house is probably not going to be new construction because I've decided we're going to live on the lake. But I do think I want something that's going to need quite a bit of work, because having walked so many different buyers through building homes, I now pretty much know exactly what I want to do. What I want in my kitchen, what I want in my what I want in my bathroom, what I think of different flooring, and
well, I think that you just work with the right guy that has the resources to pull those things together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've been saying guy, but I really can't think of a woman builder. There's one out in the Milford area.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But
I know some women-owned handyman companies.
We know them.
Yes, exactly.
And you know what? That woman can install a whole bathroom.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Carrie.
Property gals. Yeah,
Property gals.
I think it's
they're doing a
Property
great
Gals.
job. Yeah.
Oh no, if I said their name wrong, we're gonna have to find out.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, I know. We'll have to find out.
Exactly.
But it's Carrie and Sue, and I'm telling you, they do a great job.
They do.
And
They're very talented.
I had her actually quote something for me on a renovation type thing, and she was right straightforward with it. She knew the cost of where it was going to take her, and
yeah.
So,
very, very can do.
Yeah.
But it is still a male-dominated field. Yeah.
Turn on the HGTV set, and you'll see the mother-daughter team, and it's coming along with everything else. You know.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and I do think in some cases, some builders are a little bit rough around the edges, and sometimes can be a little bit of a bully. And I think that's how they handle their subs. And then there are others who are extremely easygoing, but they still manage to keep the trains running on time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a manager. That's a construction manager. And it's interesting because I do work for one that is a complete construction manager. Does not hold a hammer ever.
Right.
Would not fix the screw in the wall that might be popping out.
Yeah.
And then I work for others that are hands-on.
There. Yeah. In the trenches.
These are the guys that kind of burn themselves out a little bit, but they are good guys to find for a renovation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because they'll get their hands dirty and make sure that it gets done.
But it's hard work, and they're worth their every.
Oh, they more than earn their.
Yeah, they more than earn their money.
Absolutely.
Through all the different weather and the economic situation.
Yeah.
But New Hampshire's economies are second, I think, in the country or something like that. So we're doing good.
Yeah, and I think we're very desirable right now for people who are looking to move somewhere where there's a high quality of life and they can work remotely. So we've got lots available for custom and semi-custom building in Bedford at the Preserve.
We do at the Preserve at West Bedford? Yeah,
and that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing people put up exactly what they want.
Yep, we've got. We've got, I think, 5 houses going up right now. There are 3 different builders working up there. Actually, 4, I think. So, things are chugging along in spite of the downturn caused by COVID.
Right, yeah.
But I think new construction is the horizon. It's really going to be what puts our market together.
We need inventory.
People need homes.
People need homes, yeah.
And the communities that they want to live in can't always be affordable, but there's really much that we can do to guide them.
And whether you're looking to get something larger or something smaller or just something different, you can build it and get exactly what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for getting real with us once again about new construction.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ben, for helping us produce a fine podcast episode yet again. So we enjoy the time that you spend with us with Spouses Talking Houses, and I would ask you to like, subscribe, and share this episode or any other topic that you're interested in. Thank you.
Music courtesy of the Eric Lindbergh Trio. Please visit his website at www.ericlindberghworld.com. Jennifer and Brian are licensed to practice real estate in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Brian is also a certified general appraiser in New Hampshire. They are not lawyers, accountants, home inspectors, or therapists. Real estate customs and rules may be different in your area. Each Keller Williams Realty office is independently owned and operated. The Realtor name is trademarked to members of the National Association of Realtors. If you are currently under contract with a real estate agent, this is not intended as a solicitation. Views expressed on this podcast by Jennifer may not be shared by Brian and vice versa, nor are they necessarily the views of Keller Williams Realty.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21, Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.